The battle plan is limited resources. The idea behind the Skaven list is that Vizzik is going to be buffing up the two storm vermins with the fight twice, and the night runners are going to be scoring on the outside flanks. The clan rats are there to provide a screen for the rest of the army, while the Gracier and the Gracier on Screaming Bell provide whatever necessary buffs are needed for the storm vermin to do what they need to do. A lot of this army revolves around the storm vermin. With the Flesh Eater Courts, the main objective is to kind of bog up the middle with the ghouls, Ushoran, and the Marrow Scroll Herald. Playing with the Honor Guard there, as well as a lot of strike first and strike last from the Marrow Scroll and Ushoran, deters a lot happening in the center. Meanwhile, Fluffy, Princess, and the Morbag Knights are free to kind of take the flanks as they please. Night Runners use their deployment phase move to move on to the easternmost objective. Flesh Eaters force Skaven to take the first turn. The second knothole pops up on the eastern edge of the board. Gracier on Screaming Bell gets a -1 hit Aurora for everything within 13 inches. Gracier on foot casts the Bell Manifestation for Skaven with a 10 using 3 dice. The Gracier on Screaming Bell gets the Vermintide out with a cast of an 8. The Plague Pack prays for Rabbit Tuft and banks it with a 4, while Vizzik banks 7 prayer points in total from 2 prayers. Marrow Scroll Herald spends a CP for Charnel Conviction, getting a 6, placing it on the 40 ghoul pack in front of him. Skaven move up slightly and secure take their land on the eastern flank by the knothole. FEC chooses the battle tactic Seize the Center. Gormain enters the throne, getting 3 noble deeds from it, but failing his gavel effect. Ushoran puts on the +1 to run and charge delusion, and gets boxcars for deranged transformation on the ghouls. Woo! Short-lived as he fails the Corpse Mare Stampede cast. Fluffy casts deranged transformation on the Morbag Knights with an 8. Marrow Scroll Herald is on fire, getting another 5, giving the ghouls a 5+ ward on the prayer chant for Charnel Conviction. Vizzik banks 3 more prayer points. Storm Vermin use 3 claw steps ahead to shift over into the trees. Flesh Eater Courts move up the board to get into charge range. Morbag Knights and the Royal Beast Flayers make it into a charge. Morbags are the first to fight, doing 6 damage to the Bell Manifestation and killing 6 of the clan rats. Skaven Night Runners are the next up and take out 2 of the Beast Flayers. The Beast Flayers return fire on the Night Runners, dealing 7 damage to them. Clan rats strike back on the Morbag Knights, killing 1 of them. The Morbag Knights at the end spend a CP to power through, killing 2 more clan rats, but 3 of them return. Flesh Eater Courts secure the center, getting their battle tactic. Flesh Eaters win the roll-off and take the double turn. Gormain gets 1 noble deed from the throne and once again fails his gavel. Ushoran brings Vizzik into the delusion with a 10 on the cast value. Vizzik slaughters 4 members of his Plague Pack in the delusion. Ushoran then gets deranged transformation back on the ghouls with a 9 and gets 2 noble Ds by addressing his court. Fluffy casts Charnel Feasts on the bell for 2 mortal wounds. The Marrow Scroll Herald banks 3 prayer points. At the end of the hero phase, the Skaven use a CP to rally 4 clan rats back, and they spend a CP on the Plague Pack but lose their prayer points. Vizzik then gets the last 2 prayer points to give his Death Frenzy a 12. The Storm Vermin get fight twice, and the ghouls get -1 to attacks. The clan rats use 3 claw steps ahead to move in front of Vizzik, blocking the way. Flesh Eaters bear down on their prey, with the 2 terror guys shrieking into the Storm Vermin, doing 4 wounds total. Princess, the Morbag Knights, and the ghouls all make their charges into the center mass. Princess starts off the carnage by dropping 7 vermin with her rampage and giving them -1 to hit. She also gets the strike first effect. She kills 3 vermin with the maw and kills the Claw Lord outright. Ghouls are the next to attack, killing 4 clan rats and doing 1 damage to the Vermintide Manifestation. Storm Vermin pile into the Morbag Knights and do 2 damage to them. Morbags strike back into them but whiff hard. The remaining Night Runners do 1 HP to the Royal Beast Flayers. In turn, the Beast Flayers kill what's left of the Night Runners and do 3 damage to the knothole. The Clan Rats do 8 damage to the ghouls and bring 1 rat back at the end of the turn. The Storm Vermin on their second strike finish off what's left of the Morbag Knights. Skaven chooses the battle tactic, do not waver. Screaming Bell has both his manifestation and its spell denied. Gracier on foot gets Skitterleap off with a 9 and takes himself to the westernmost objective. The last member of the Plague Pack banks a 2 on his prayer roll. Vizzik uses Prohpet of the Horned Rats and still double fails with the 1 on Bile Torrent. On his second prayer, he banks a 5. The Marrow Scroll Herald spends a CP to yet again get another 6 on his 5-up ward. Woo! Most of the Skaven are in combat, so the only movement is the Clan Rats coming for the Beast Flayers, and the Storm Vermin coming through the Gnawhole in friendly territory. The Clan Rats do make their charge into the Beast Flayers. Princess's Rampage on infantry kills yet another 3 Clan Rats, giving them the -1 to hit, while the Royal Beast Flayers use their axe as their combat phase to kill 3 more rats. Clan Rats finally get to strike in their own turn and kill the Beast Flayers outright. Ghouls are up next, doing 1 damage to the Vermintide, 3 damage to the Screaming Bell, and killing 2 rats in the Clan Rats. Clan Rats want revenge on Princess, but only do 2 damage. Princess, in turn, takes out 7 rats. Vermintide whiffs. Screaming Bell kills 4 ghouls, followed up by Vizzik, who kills 15 ghouls. 3 Clan Rats return with their War Scroll ability. Skaven successfully get the battle tactic, do not waver. Skaven win the priority roll-off and take the double turn. Skaven spend a CP to rally 2 Storm Vermin back, while the Screaming Bell fails the Bell Skaven manifestation, but gets Warp Gale on Princess with an 8, giving her strike last. Gracier on foot does 3 mortal wounds to himself, but getting a 13 on the cast of the Warp Lightning Vortex manifestation. Vizzik does a prayer for Death Frenzy with a 5, giving the Storm Vermin strike first, and then casts Rabid Tuft, banking it with a 6. Ushoran spends a CP to cast the Barricade with an 11, right in the middle of all the Skaven. The Gracier moves closer to the Gnawhole in the enemy territory as the Clan Rats advance on Gormain. Vizzik finally gets to get his rampages off, doing 1 mortal wound to the ghouls and forcing them to target him himself at -1 to hit and wound. Princess then does her rampage, killing 4 Storm Vermin. Vizzik kills 2 ghouls, but they do 2 damage back to Vizzik. The Clan Rats and the Storm Vermin clean up what's left of Princess. Fluffy clears out the vortex, and the Screaming Bell finishes off what's left of the ghouls. Flesh Eaters choose the battle tactic, slay the entourage. Ushoran takes 1 mortal wound on Snake Eyes with the cast. The Marrow Scroll Herald can't be stopped with another 5 for the 5-up ward, putting it on Fluffy. Fluffy fails deranged transformation with a 4. Gormain gets the +1 to wound on Vizzik. Vizzik casts Death Frenzy with a 12, giving -1 to attacks on Ushoran, and the Storm Vermin strike twice. The Clan Rats 3 claw steps ahead, opening up space for Ushoran and Fluffy to come into Vizzik, which is exactly what Ushoran and Fluffy plan to do. 20 ghouls return to the board where the Gracier on foot is, and the Royal Beast Flayers come in on the back flanks, aiming to charge the Gracier on Screaming Bell. Fluffy fails his death streak, but makes his charge, as well as the Marrow Scroll Herald, and Ushoran charges the Clan Rats in the back line. The larger Storm Vermin pack spend 2 CP to make the counter charge with a 10. Vizzik gets his rampage off on Fluffy, forcing him to strike only Vizzik with a -1 to hit and wound. Fortunately, that's all Fluffy wants to do, is just destroy Vizzik, and he does just that. Marrow Scroll Herald gives Vizzik the bone, causing everything else that's in combat with Vizzik to strike first. The Marrow Scroll Herald and the Royal Beast Flayers collectively do 6 damage to the Screaming Bell. Ushoran takes all his aggression out on all the Clan Rats, leaving none surviving. The Vermintide and the Storm Vermin collectively do 13 wounds to Fluffy, but he's still alive. The Screaming Bell finishes off the Marrow Scroll Herald. Killing Vizzik secured Slay the Entourage. Flesh Eaters win the roll-off and take the double turn again. Gormain gets 3 noble deeds for being on the throne, but for the 3rd time this game fails another gavel from his War Scroll. Ushoran fails to cast both Stampede and Miasma. The Gracier on foot tries to cast Skitterleap but fails the cast for a CP. The storm vermin use 3 claw steps ahead to move in front of the hordes and spend a CP to rally back 7 rats. Ushoran moves towards those same storm vermin while the ghouls head towards the Grey Seer on foot. The Grey Seer on foot tries to run away with a redeploy, only getting a 2. Ushoran and the horrors make the charge on the storm vermin. Ushoran gives the storm vermin strike last with his war scroll ability. Ushoran and the horrors clear out all but 3 of the storm vermin. The ghouls finish off the Grey Seer on foot. The last 3 storm vermin finish everything off by doing 4 HP to Ushoran. Skaven choose Slay the Entourage, trying to take down Ushoran. Grey Seer on Screaming Bell fails to cast the Bell manifestation for a 3rd time.
Biscuit!
Plague Pack also fails their prayer cast, but there's nothing to lose.
Biscuit!
Ushoran spends a CP to cast the Cadaverous Barricade, but is denied with an 11. The Grey Seer on Screaming Bell fails 2 charges on getting into Ushoran. After talking it through, the Skaven player realizes there's no way he can win and concedes the match. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please hit like and subscribe, and if you have any suggestions, please put them up in the comments below.